Top of the morning to ya. I am the AI music alchemist, and today I'm going to go over the differences between Suno and Udio. First, I'm going to start with Suno. I'm going to go over the pros and cons, and then I'm going to go over Udio's pros and cons. And then I'm going to go into FL Studio and show you some of the differences between their generations. And then I will go to the interfaces for Suno and Udio to show you how they function. Suno, 0.003 cents per credit, 5 credits for 4-minute generations. The pros, fast generations. Suno generates much faster than Udio, and it allows you to listen to a song before it's fully generated, and you can even generate more songs before the previous limitation is fully generated. Suno uses less credits. There's 5 credits for 4-minute generations. When we get to Udio, you'll see that Udio requires more credits for less time. Record label friendly. It has often been remarked by professionals in the music industry that Suno produces generations that record labels prefer compared to Udio generations. Greater industry exposure. Suno has more connections and exposure through the professional music industry, especially through one of their executives, Timbaland, who's a well-known and famous producer who's worked on a lot of award-winning music productions and has had a lot of tracks with his name on it in the top 40. Higher quality generations. Suno, up until version 4, was known for having lower quality generations than Udio. I'm going to go over this more later, but the new version 4 of Suno is higher quality than Udio. Suno version 4 has greater detail than Udio. This is another thing we're going to go over later in the video, but I believe it's an important pro to point out. What are the standout features of Suno? Suno has cover songs, which is similar to the remix function of Udio, although it doesn't have as many features. Personas. Suno allows you to save the persona of a track, which is basically the voice of the singer and the general production quality. You can save that as a persona profile, and you can use that to generate other tracks using those same sounds. Stems. Suno has a stem splitter, but it only allows you to split 2 stems, vocals and instrumentals. Exclude styles. Suno allows you to exclude genres that you want the generation to avoid. Replace sections. This is basically an in-painting feature. It doesn't have as much control, though, as the in-painting features of Udio. Crop song. Suno allows you to crop parts of the song that you don't need. This is something that you could do within your digital audio workstation. Unfortunately, though, Suno only allows you to upload 120 seconds, so it's better to do it within Suno without using your DAW if you're going to crop and then do extending after that. Suno Scenes. This is a fun tool that allows you to upload images or videos, and Suno will generate a soundtrack for it based on its interpretation of what the picture or the video contain within it. Whatever you spend with Suno, you're going to get more credits per dollar than you will with Udio. What are the cons of Suno? What are the negative aspects of Suno? High frequency noise. Suno is known for having some high frequency noise that is unnecessary and can make its music sound metallic, as a lot of people describe. Although Suno outputs are preferred by record labels and other music industry professionals, in my opinion, it's not as artistic as Udio. Udio is capable of producing songs with more emotion, more life, and more originality than Suno, in my opinion. Now, what's up with Udio? Udio charges 0.00625 cents per credit. This is more than twice as much as Suno charges for their credits. And Udio requires 4 credits to be spent for 2 minutes and 10 seconds of generation. It contrasts that with Udio, which requires 5 seconds for 4-minute generations, getting almost twice as much with Suno as you are with Udio when you spend your credits. And on top of that, the credits are twice as much with Udio. So you're really getting 4 times as much with Suno. Pros. Udio is known for being more artistic. It's my opinion, but I think a lot of other people agree. The singers can definitely have more life and more of an underground, less polished sound, which can be optimal for a lot of genres and a lot of goals. Inpainting. Though Suno has an in-painting feature, the in-painting feature with Udio has more options, and it's, in general, a lot easier to use. Less high-frequency noise. Udio version 1 was known for having some of the high-frequency noise problems that Suno has. With their version 1.5 update, it doesn't have nearly as much high-frequency noise. It's a lot warmer and has been more desirable through most of the history of these two platforms. Better stem separation. Udio not only has more options for the stems that it's able to separate, but the stem separation is actually much better than Suno. It's some of the best stem separation tools available. More in-depth controls. You'll find when we get into the demonstration phase of this video that Udio has a lot more tools and features that allow you to have more control over the outputs in your generations. What are the standout features of Udio? Udio has a remix feature, which is similar to the cover song feature that Suno has, but again, more control, and that translates to much more deliberate outputs. Seed control. This is going to be similar to the persona feature of Suno, although I think the persona feature of Suno is probably better than the seed tool in Udio. Clarity control. This is one of the best features of Udio. Udio gives you the ability to control the clarity of an output. The higher clarity will have possibly more hallucinations because it's trying to imagine more details, but it will be more of a flat response, more of a neutral sound, which is useful if you're going to master it yourself or if you're going to do any stem separation. But you can also bring the clarity control down, and that's going to give you more of a finished, polished sound with less detail. Stems. As I stated, Udio has stem separator. It's better than Udio's, and that is one of their standout features in my opinion. Prompt strength. Udio allows you to adjust the prompt strength in order to adhere more closely to your prompts, your genre prompts, or if you want to lower the prompt strength, Udio will have more liberty and more freedom to determine what it thinks is best and ignore your genre prompts. Lyric strength. Udio allows you to determine how much the output generation will need to adhere to your lyric strength. If you bring the lyric strength down, it may put different lyrics in than what you put in the lyrics section, and that can be fine for certain situations. What are the cons of Udio? 2-minute and 10-second maximum generations, and that doesn't even apply to extensions. If you're going to be doing extensions, you're stuck with 32-second extension generations. Less detail than Suno. It used to be that Udio had more detail in its outputs than Suno does, but since the new version 4 update of Suno, Udio actually has less detail than Suno. Slow generations. This is one of the worst aspects of Udio. Udio generates much slower than Suno, and it doesn't allow you to initialize as many generations at the same time as Suno does. So in the time that it would take you to generate 8 generations in Udio, you could literally generate dozens, maybe even 100. Now, probably not 100, but you could probably get 50 generations out of Suno at the time that you could get 8 generations out of Udio. One of the most significant cons of Udio is the generation cost. As I stated earlier, you're going to spend twice as much to get the same amount of credits with Udio, and you're going to spend twice as many credits to get the same amount of time in generating with Udio than you are with Suno. The Udio remix feature adds detail to muddy tracks that lack detail. When remixing tracks made with Suno version 3.5, Udio would be forced to imagine new details in the high frequency range of the Suno generation. As a result, Udio would replace the low fidelity hi-hats with wet or plastic sounds that seem to be constantly morphing. Using Udio to remix generations made with version 4 of Suno does not have this issue. Hats translate very well across the two. That being said, remixing version 4 Suno generations in Udio does make it clear that Suno version 4 is winning the detail competition, as Udio is unable to produce hi-hat sounds with as much clarity as Suno version 4. Okay, now we're in FL Studio. The first track here is the original version 3.5 Suno generation of a song I called Aglet. Below it here, this is that same song remixed within Udio. This version here, the third one down, this is the original 3.5 generation remastered in Suno using version 4. And this final one, the fourth one here, this is the same version 4, remastered version, remixed in Udio. This is going to give us an apples to apples to apples to apples comparison of Suno and Udio. It's going to be a great way to figure out what the strengths and weaknesses of either of them are. So now we're going to listen to the initial generation that I created using version 3.5 of Suno. Okay, as you could hear, I think it's a pretty cool song, but there is a lack of clarity, especially in the hi-hat range. Now we're going to listen to the version that is that same track remixed in Udio. You may have noticed the hi-hats are very inconsistent. They kind of fluctuate and morph throughout it, almost sound like they're created by a synthesizer with some automation affecting some of the parameters of the synthesizer. Now, in order to help hear it more distinctly, I'm going to switch between these. I'm going to do an A and B comparison between the two so you can hear the difference. This is Suno, Udio. Suno. Udio. So in addition to the differences in the hi-hats, you can't really hear hi-hats in the original Suno generation. Udio just imagined there to be some more hi-hats there than weren't already there. But in addition to that, you may notice that the Suno generation has a lot more high-end noise. Here's Suno, Udio. The high end is a lot clearer. There's less of a noise wall going on with the Udio version. Now we're going to listen to the remastered version. This was the original 3.5 version from Suno, remastered in version 4. Let's go ahead and play it. Now, to really hear the difference between version 4 of Suno and version 3.5, I'm going to do an A-B comparison between this one here and this one here. So we'll start with 3.5. Version 4. .5. 4. Now, there is less of that high frequency noise in the version 4 version than version 3.3, but it's still more than you're hearing in Suno. However, you may notice there's a lot more detail in the hi-hat region, but especially in the growly neurofunk type of bass. I think it sounds way better in the remastered version. We can also compare it to the remixed version of Udio here. So here's the Udio. And here's version 4 Suno. Despite the high frequency noise, I just feel like it has a lot more energy or maybe because of the high frequency noise, it has a lot more energy than the Udio version. But now we're going to listen to the version 4 of Suno that was remixed in Udio. Okay, now you may have noticed this version has less of an issue with the morphing inconsistent hi-hats than the version 3.5 version that was remixed in Udio. We're going to do an A/B comparison between those two to listen to that difference more distinctly. This is the 3.5 remix. Here's a version 4 remix. 3.5 remix. Version 4 remix. 3.5 remix. Version 4 remix. Let's listen to a little bit to a few more bars of this one. As you can hear the hi-hats, if you go to the version 3 remix, 3.5 remix, they're just very wet, like I said, plasticky kind of sounding, like elastic sounding. They just don't sound like real hi-hats. Sound like artifacts almost. And then here, even though both of them are adding 16th note hi-hats, this one just, to me, it sounds a lot more like actual hi-hats rather than this one, which sounds like weird synthesizer sounds. But let's also go ahead and compare the version 4 remaster of Suno with the version 4 remix that they're Udio. Here's Suno, Udio, Suno, Udio, Suno. In my opinion, despite the high frequency noise in the Suno version, it appears to me to have more detail. Like I said, in the bass region, with the percussion, listen to that growling bass sound. And over here, it sounds more like a low pass reese bass or something. It's chunky. Okay, now that we've had a chance to compare the different versions of Suno with the remix versions of Udio, we're going to move on to the interfaces for Suno and Udio. Take a look at the features and tools that are available in either of them. So when you first open up Suno, this is where it places you. We're looking at tracks that are produced by other users. This is more or less a marketplace streaming platform. Both Suno and Udio are doing this on their platforms, but I really never listen to other people's AI music because my goal is to take AI music and convert it into real music. But let's go ahead and click down on the Create tab. This is where we'll be spending most of the time. First, at the top here, you have your custom switcher here. If this is off, then you're just going to put the prompt for lyrics and genre all in the same description box here. If you turn it on, then you've got lyrics, style, and title. You got all this stuff separate. It gives you much more control than the other option. Here's your upload audio tab. You can upload or record, but you're limited to 120 seconds. So if you're uploading something that's longer than that, you just can't do it. And that's really unfortunate because the new remaster feature would be phenomenal to use on some of your, if you're a music producer, maybe some of your old recordings, some of your old productions, or really anything that you have that you can upload. Now over here, you can choose the versions. We got 4, 3.5, 3, and 2. Don't waste your time on anything but 4. 4 is way better. Here you have your lyrics box. You can put in your lyrics here, which I always suggest writing your own lyrics. You can also switch it to an instrumental, which will remove it and you won't have any lyrics. Even though I suggest writing your own lyrics, if you do click this box, you're going to be able to describe the type of lyrics that you want or a theme or whatnot. And then here, you can click to choose the classic lyric generator, which I believe is based on ChatGPT. And here they have something called Remy. It's in beta. I have used it just to try it out. It, in my opinion, it doesn't do a very good job of putting the lyrics into a pattern that would translate to a good vocal line, but it does do some interesting and creative concepts and phrases in it much more than ChatGPT does. However, in my opinion, it's in its current form, it's totally unusable. ChatGPT, in my opinion, isn't really usable, but for some fun parody type stuff, it is pretty good. Now, below that, you have style of music, which this is where you'd put your genre prompts, what you want it to sound like, whether it's a male singer or a female singer. And you can click here to exclude styles. This is going to give you another box here where you can put genres that you want to exclude, basically genres that you want Suno to avoid. And that's useful if it keeps switching to a genre that you don't want to hear. Then you just put that genre in here and it should exclude it. And then below that, you have personas. This is where you select a persona, the different personas that you have saved. And shortly, I will show you how to save a persona. And here you put the title. And titles are really useful for helping you organize and find tracks later on. You're pretty much always going to want to create your own original title. Now, to access the other features, you're going to need to click on these 3 dots of the song you want to change. And you have the extend option here. This extend option is going to add the song over here to this section. You can extend from the end of the song, or if you want, you can change the time where it extends from to say halfway through the song or something. And you put the lyrics in here that you want to end up on the extension. If you put a lot of lyrics, it's going to extend it really far. If you don't put very many lyrics, it might not extend it very much. You have a maximum of 4 minutes to extend it. Now, other features, we have reuse prompt. This is just going to take the genre. Well, actually, it did not take the genre prompt for some reason. Oh, this one doesn't have a genre. Let's go to one that has a genre. Let's go. So this one, EDM pop, indie pop. We'll go here. Reuse prompt there. We got all the lyrics and all the prompts that we need in there. Now, other options. We have cover song. And this is going to basically do kind of like a remix of what Udio does, but with far less control. That's going to add the cover up here. Make persona. And this is how you would, if you click here, it makes a persona based on the track that you selected when you press the function. You can name the persona here and you can add an avatar, which is an image for the persona, or you can prompt for Suno to create an image for you. And then you can put a description here that helps you remember what the persona is all about. And then also down here, you can choose to make it public or private. Most of the times, you're probably going to make it private. A lot of people don't want to share their personas with other people. I don't know if there's any incentive to. Now, let's go ahead and see what's below personas. We got get stems. This is going to generate stems, but you're only going to get vocals and instrumentals, as you can see here. Below get stems, we have remaster. And this is one of the most powerful features of Suno. If you're generating songs starting today, it's not going to help you very much. But if you've been spending time in Suno generating songs, this is going to give you the ability to take some of your older songs, even from version 2, that are really low fidelity, and remaster them into something that's much easier to work with, something that's much better. This is the most valuable aspect of the update to me, other than the fact that we get a general boost in quality. Now I can take the early songs I generated with Suno, and I can bring them up to a level that makes it easier for me to extract stems and to work with them professionally. And then down here, you have song radio. And I haven't used this, but from what I can tell, it's basically taking the song that you have selected and it's finding songs that are going to be similar to it. Probably based on genre prompts and tags that are on the songs. Let's go back to create here. I believe that covers everything here. So below that, we have edit. This is where you can edit the song details, which is like the name, display lyrics, the image for the song. You can also crop the song. This would give you the ability to cut off a part from you would put here, say 10 seconds, and here you would say 45 seconds, and there it's going to crop everything that's outside of this. Let's clear. Let's go back. And then you also have replace section, and this is going to be the opposite, not the opposite of crop, but this is going to be end panning. Let's say 10 seconds again to 45 seconds. And you would put the lyrics in here, you'd put the genre tags, anything that you want to hear, and it would reimagine the details within this using your new original prompt. Okay, and then that covers basically all the creative features. Well, if you go down here to library, this is where we can see all of our generations since the dawn of time. You can just keep going back. I got probably hundreds of pages here. But you can also search. If you know there's a lyric that is in a song and you can't find the song, then you can search here and it will pull up all the songs with those lyrics, or say something in the title, or even the genre prompts. Then you can also make it so that only liked songs will appear. And if you didn't like a song, then it's not going to appear once you have that selected. And then you have scenes. You can select scenes. I don't have any scenes. And then here you can search through public, which I would never do. And then after songs, you have playlists. In playlists, this is going to be any playlist that you've created, which is a great way to organize and keep track of your songs. That's what I do. And then following, I guess that would be for artists that you're following, followers, artists who follow you. History, this is going to be things you recently did. And then personas, this is going to show you a catalog of the personas you have saved. And then if you go to explore, I guess this is just to find music from other users, which has never interested me. And then search, this is where you search for songs, playlists, or other users. There's some other things down here that have to do with your account, but I'm not going to get into that right now. This has been a comprehensive overview of Suno's features. We're going to go ahead and move on to Udio now. Now we are in Udio. Once again, Udio opens up into their streaming platform. You have staff picks. You have songs that are trending, genres here. Again, this is not where I spend my time. I spend all my time in the creative tab, which is right here. So I'm going to start from the bottom of the feature set and work my way up. So here I have generation quality. Now, if you go all the way to the bottom here, it's faster. If you go to the top here, it's slower. But the faster it is, the lower quality is. And the slower it is, the higher quality is. I can wait a little bit longer for higher quality generations. I don't see any point in going down here for the slower ones. Up above that, we have seed. This is where you can copy and capture the seed of a track, which should function similar to the persona option in Suno, but I don't think it's quite as good. At least that's my impression. Now, next to the seed option, you have clarity. Now, clarity, the lower you go, the more finished sounding it will be, but the less detail there will be. The higher you go, the less finished it will sound, but the greater detail there will be. However, that can result in hallucinations, but it's also going to have more of a flat response or a more of a neutral sound, which would be better if you're going to be doing your own mastering. If you're not doing your own mastering, I would stick around in a 30 to 40% range here. This is going to give you a fairly finished sound with enough clarity that it doesn't sound like an older version of Suno. Now, above that, you can choose your model. I would avoid model 1.0 and stick with 1.5 for now, at least until model 2 comes out. And above that, we have prompt strength and lyric strength. This is going to determine how strictly the generation will adhere to your prompt, and here, how strictly it will adhere to your lyric strength. Now, above this, we have style reduction. This is basically exclude genres from Suno. And I just noticed this today. I didn't even notice that this was here. I don't know if they added it recently, but if Suno is not keeps generating in a genre that you don't want to hear, this is where you put that genre in, and hopefully it would avoid it. Now, above that, we have clip start. This is going to be where, because if right here, the way we have it set up is we're starting a new generation from scratch. Where do you want that generation to start? Middle of the song? Do you want to start at the beginning of the intro? To start near the end for some reason? In most cases, you're going to start 30 to 40%, somewhere around where the song really kicks off. And then you're going to add the intro later on. Now here with lyric timing, where do you want the lyrics to start in the song? Do you want those lyrics to start at the very beginning of the intro? Or do you want the lyrics to start when the song kicks off? So you probably would want to select probably 30 to 40%, similar to here in most situations, depending on how long you want the intro to be. And I guess it's going to depend on genre as well. Now up here is your lyric editor. This is where you would put your lyrics. I'm going to show you one of the really cool features that Udio has that Suno does not have. Here it says goodbye, and I can put in here in this lyric editor, instead of saying goodbye, say hello. Let's click here. and it switched it to hello. Now, if it said goodbye many, many times throughout the lyrics, I could change all that as a macro, essentially, as a macro control. That is, honestly, I do suggest you write your own lyrics, but this is a great way to write your lyrics. You can literally just write them in here, and you can make adjustments throughout the process using this lyric editor. In addition to using your own lyrics or writing lyrics within this editor, you can click auto generated, which means that it's going to use ChatGPT to come up with lyrics for your track. Or you can select instrumental, and then there aren't any lyrics at all. It's just an instrumental track. Now here, you can choose if you want to use the 32-second generator or the 130-second generator, which is 2 minutes and 10 seconds. In a lot of situations, this one is useful, but in most situations, I think you're going to be using the 130-second generator. Unfortunately, 130 seconds, it is useful, but it's very few songs you're going to fit within 2 minutes and 10 seconds. It'd be really great if they had a 4-minute option similar to Suno. Now, above this, you can select manual mode or not manual mode. If you don't have it on manual mode, then Udio is going to look at your prompt here, and it's going to make a decision about what it thinks is a better prompt for what your goal appears to be. If you have manual mode on, then it's going to strictly adhere to this prompt that you have put in right here. Now, you can also upload your own track. Let's go ahead and do that. Once you have your own track uploaded, it's going to give you some more options over here other than just create. See, now we have extend. And extending is basically, as you can imagine, adding more time onto the song, and it's going to iterate off of your initial idea. They could copy some of the sections before, or it could create totally new sections. Your prompt up here is going to have a lot to do with what it determines is going to come into the next section. In addition to adding a section after the clip you've uploaded, you can add an outro, and that's going to end the track so it sounds like it's ended. It's going to fade out, or it's going to have some sort of an ending so the song is done, so it doesn't just abruptly end. And then you can also add a section before the clip. Suno has nothing like this. This is one of the great things about Udio. In addition to all these other features they have that give you more control, this one, it allows you to add a section before. Say that you have just a drop. You have a kick-ass drop and you don't know what to put before it. You can use this to add a section before it. You could, in the prompter, you could say build up intro, and then you can even add an intro before that section to give you a decent sized introduction to the track. That doesn't mean that you have to use that in your finished production. You can just use it as inspiration, as ideas to come up with for the intro that then you can reproduce within your digital audio workstation. Now we have crop and extend. This is going to give you the ability to crop, to cut off certain parts and extend other parts. It would basically affect this section here. Now, in addition to extend, we have remix. And this is, in my opinion, the most powerful feature of Udio. This is extremely useful, and in my workflow, it's totally essential. There's no other model or product or anything that does what this thing does. And the main reason, well, let me go down. So first, we have the same options that we did for create. Here we have the variance setting. If you have the variance setting set down here, then it's going to basically sound just like the original, but it's going to add new details if there are less details. Unless you have something that has more details than Udio is capable of imagining. In that case, it actually will probably output lower detail. But you can bring it up here to different on the variance scale. The more different it is, the less it will sound like your original. And this is, you can use to come up with some really cool new ideas. Now, what makes this so powerful is the way that I create vocals is I use Musicify to convert the voice to a new voice, which has the side effect of up-resing the vocal sample and also getting rid of a lot of the artifacts that happen when you're doing stem separation. And the problem is that it will lose some of the clarity in the pronunciation of certain syllables. Some words will get lost in the process. And you can actually take the lyrics for the song, drop them here into the right lyrics section, and then bring the lyric strength all the way up or almost all the way up. And then you can hit, probably somewhere between 0.2 and 0.4 and variance. That will force it to fix the errors that happen in the voice conversion process. You'll get those syllables back. You'll get that pronunciation back. Now, in addition to remix, you have edit. This is going to be your in-paint. Let's go ahead and select this guy. This is going to be your in-painting section. You can move this around. If you want to in-paint an area, it will affect here. You can replace the section. You can edit the lyrics, which isn't going to affect the music, the instrumentals. It's just going to affect the lyrics themselves. But here in the replace section, this would in fact affect the instrumentals as well. Now you can access the features as well over here in this 3 dots tab. You can trim it. You can generate a video, which is just going to generate a lyric video. It's not going to do an animated video, unfortunately. Here, if you click view, it's going to full screen it. And if you go here to share, this gives you different sharing options down here. And you can also just copy to clipboard. If you want to add it to a playlist, you do it here. If you want to download it, then it's going to pop up this little window. And you got options for video, MP3, wave, and stems. And when you go to stems, you can see you're going to end up with 4 options. And if you're working with vocals, then you just extract the vocal stem here and move on, leave the rest, which is great. And again, as I mentioned before, Udio stem splitter is better than Suno's. So below download, we have show history. This is going to show any of the previous seeds or iterations of the track that you're working with. And then if you go to publish, this allows you to publish it to, whoops, I did not want to publish that, unpublish. Okay. It's going to allow you to publish it and make it public so other people can hear it. You want to report a song if it has, for some reason, some content in it that you think is against the community guidelines. This is where you do that. And you can delete the song here as well. Now, below the Create tab, we have our library. Similar to Suno, we can see all of the songs that we have generated in the past. Although I believe it allows you to view more on a page, which is really handy, because I think Suno only allows you to see like 20 or 30 per page. Now below that, we have our feed. This is just going to be probably synchronized to our preferences as far as Udio can understand it. I actually don't see anything here. Maybe I don't know what your feed is, because I think there should be something. Oh, I think this would be if I liked any other artist's music, or if I listened to other artists' music, it would end up here. I'm not sure. I've never used it before. I only use Suno and Udio to create things. I don't use them to listen to other people's music. So that covers everything I wanted to go over in this video. We looked at some of the pros and cons of Suno and Udio. Then we demonstrated some of the differences in the generated outputs. And then we looked at the interfaces of both, and we compared the differences in how they function. So I hope this information was useful, as always. If you want to support my work, I have a Fiverr page with a link in the description. I also have a link for my Buy Me a Coffee page. It's another way to support my work. Thank you for sticking around until the end of the video, and I look forward to uploading another extremely useful video for you soon.